for the YouTube subscribers. Go subscribe already. Hit the fucking like button and subscribe button. Knock your ass out, man. I ain't fucking with you, man.
UFC 283 live from Brazil. Yes, UFC is back in Brazil for a pay-per-view card. It's only a matter of time they go back there, right? You have to think Brazil has probably the most UFC fighters on the roster from any other country besides the US. Every fight on this card, from my knowledge, is a Brazil fighter. So that's very interesting to see. They're going to keep count, right? And keep record like they did in England card. They kept record of how they all did. I don't think England had a fighter in every card. I think Brazil does here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Home court or home octagon advantage for the fighters. We'll be looking at all main event cards, guys. I'll be doing full detailed breakdowns on the fights, providing leans, some free picks, and also what to avoid. Great start to the year. 2023 going 2-0, 4-0 on all fights. A sweep to start the year, and long-term run continues, guys, into UFC. 5-1 short-term last two cards. UFC Vegas 67 recap. You know, I was on the main play here. Not a main play. It was a smaller unit than my parlay that I had that I really liked. But we were on Ige on the only single straight bet that I had. We were on Ige minus 125. I give it to you guys for free as well on the video, and it was a great bounce back spot for him, right? We knew he was going to have the stand-up advantage, and I knew Jackson would have an issue getting the fight down to the ground. That's what happened. He tried once, and he wasn't able to get the fight down to the ground. Ige, second round finish. He hurt him multiple times in that fight. Great bounce back spot for him. He was able to bounce back. After, you know, he had three losses in a row. This was kind of almost a must-win for him. So that was the play on Ige, which I wish I probably went a little higher unit size on him. But you know, we still hit it there. Also as a free pick. I had a rare 3-fight parlay. I don't do 3-fight parlays. I love my 2-fight parlays. But I had a rare 3-fight parlay. You could technically say it was a 2-fight parlay because I did throw Umar Nurmagomedov in the parlay, which is a guarantee winner almost, right? It's as close as you can get to a guarantee winner on minus 800. I threw it in there just to, you know, make the line a little better. I don't do that often, but I did expect him to win. And it was tough to call if it was going to be by a finish, a submission, so I did stay from an outcome there. We also were on Basharat. I'm very high on Basharat. He continues to win, guys. Continues to stay undefeated. He should have a number by his name by the end of the year. He should start fighting ranked guys. I really like him. He's very well-rounded. He may not get the knockouts. Doesn't get the knockouts, but he wins fights. And I do think he'll be ranked. I do think he'll be maybe in the top 10 in maybe about 2 years or so. Also love the Pennington and Vieira fight to go the distance. Tough to bet aside. As you can see, it was a flip of a coin decision, which I expected. I did lean Pennington with the money due to the price. But yeah, that was a flip of a coin fight. I really liked it to go the distance, and that's what it did. The fight went the distance. There was no, you know, there was a cut. I think the only way that fight wasn't going to distance if there was a stoppage due to cut. But no cut issues there. Pennington did get cut, but it wasn't deep enough or anything for the fight to stop, and that was it. So good start here. A weekly update. UFC clean card last week. Like I mentioned, we're on a 5-0 run, over 55 units long term now, 65% best bets over 5 years now, guys. I'm a little more selective with my best bets these days, guys. Before I would give them out a lot more, but now I'm a little more selective. So there hasn't been a ton. There hasn't been a ton of best bets. We had some last year, of course, but not maybe a handful. This year, not as of yet. NHL, 66%. Last two season guys combined. Continue to find winners in the NHL, sticking to system bets. A few bets a week. Try not to force anything. But we'll have anywhere from 1 to 4 bets usually in the NHL per week. PGA, 2 outrights last 5 events, both named John Rahm. 65% best bets over 5 years as well. Limited best bets in the PGA. I only bet best bets in the PGA in major tournaments. If you do bet PGA, that's what I suggest, guys. You know, these smaller tournaments, tough to have a best bet Here and there, maybe I'll have like a top 40, top 30, top 20, maybe a matchup. But in the smaller tournaments, it's difficult. Sometimes difficult to handicap. Plus 672.6 units in the prop market. A bit of slow start in the prop market to start the year. But hopefully to get back on track this weekend. NFL, we're coming off a best bet winner. The only one all year, guys. The only one all year. We hit that 71% long-term best bet run in the NFL. So I'm very selective with my best bets. I usually don't have before, like 3-4 years ago, I was doing regular season best bets, more best bets throughout the year. Now I limit myself with the best bets. I like to attack the future market with best bets or playoffs. And I do have a best bet pending in the NFL again this week. Yes, another one pending this week. Playoffs, is a regular season bet really a best bet? Depends how you're looking at your best bets. I'm very select. That's why I'm able to go 5-0 in best bets in all sports as of late, and then 71% long-term in the NFL. NBA, also a good run long-term, guys. 65% long-term last two regular seasons. We had a nice 7-2 run, but we have back-to-back NBA losers as of late. Guys, systemsportscapping.com is the website. Okay, you can become a client today and start profiting long term. Updated records over there. Client comments over the years. Also on Instagram, client comments. There's more over there. Free picks, resume, and much more. If you want a disciplined system, if you're a guy that handicaps, often, and you want a disciplined system, win high percentage of the time, winning percentage, anywhere from 60 to 70%, this is the right service for you. Stop donating to the books, right, with long shot parlays or trying to do it yourself. This is what I do. I've been in this sports industry in some capacity for 18 years. All I do is watch and research sports and bet them. And you're getting detailed write-ups, not just saying, bet this. Like some bootleg systems out there. They'll just send you a pick with no explanation. I obviously did my research before getting into this, 3-4 years ago. Three years now I have this. But I have been betting in sports for 18 years. Of course, I purchased packages in the past, and you purchase some and they just throw it a play to you, not professional. I come back from a writing side. I come from a TV analyst side. So I love to go over reasons why I like plays, right? The hardest part is to decide on units. That's the hardest part, right? I do provide that as well. And it can be hard at times as well to distinguish between the best bet, full unit, half unit. It is, but I do have my points that I need to hit for certain unit plays. So that's what you'll get. Social media system capping all platforms. Most active on Instagram and Twitter. Everything over there, sports betting related, sports news in general, client comments, ticket winners, all over there. Like this video, it helps me out a ton, guys. Let's hear from my friend Meredith before we get into this card.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Shop around, guys. Shop around. Have multiple books. I can't stress that enough. You want the best number, right? Numbers vary from book to book. Props vary from book to books. I can't stress that enough. I can't tell you what you're getting in the market. I can just tell you what I can get. So that's why I post my winning tickets. Main event. For the gold. Yes, for the gold. I didn't expect this fight to happen a few months ago or a month ago, but it is here. Glover plus 105. There's some plus 110s out there, plus 115. Shop around. This is just the graphic line versus Hill, minus 125. A little bit surprised that Glover's the dog here, fighting at home, been there, done that. Shows that his age, he still has it. Maybe looking the best. Maybe looking at his best right now. Classic case and situation in this fight. The upcoming hard hitter, great striker, flashy, confident, cocky, against the older guy that's been around there, been around the time, strictly grappler versus striker type of matchup. However, Glover's a good striker, guys. He does have some power. Obviously, Hill's going to have the advantage on the feet and in the speed department. A lot more quicker. One people that don't really talk about is, with Hill, very good striking defense. He doesn't get hit a ton. One of the lowest in the divisions. So he's really good on his feet. And if he does catch you with that power, as you can see, 3-fight win streak, 3 knockouts in a row, he can really hurt you. And we have seen Glover get hurt early in fights. The question always is, Glover can handle the early storm from Hill? That's what it's going to be, right? That's why I think Glover could be a good live betting opportunity here. Glover, obviously the value here. And we know where Glover wants to get this fight. Down to the ground where he's going to have a grappling advantage. Right? Glover, one of the best grapplers in this division. Hill, blue belt. Blue belt, right? So Glover has shown time and time again he can get fights down to the ground. He got Yuri down to the ground, even though he did get caught. He was gassed in that fight. I just don't see this fight really getting that far for him to get gassed. Probably my favorite bet on this fight is fight not to go the distance. You're going to have to obviously pay for that, and under in later rounds. From a side standpoint, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for me to get to Hill when he hasn't been proven in this spot. Fighting on the road in Brazil, right? Only 12 MMA fights. Keep that in mind, guys. Right? And you're asking me to pay 125, 135 on him. It's hard for me to do. Sure, I can see him knocking out Glover in the first round or second round. Of course. He throws heavy, better striker, and a lot quicker. And then you look at the Glover side. Does Glover get Hill down to the ground and expose him there? Right? Does Glover make it ugly? Glover could strike. Remember, he is training with the best striker in the world right now in Pereira. Keep that in mind. Right? He can strike. It's just his chin, right? He can get hurt in fights. Right, Yuri kind of hurt him, but he stood up there. Right, I do think Hill has a little more power than Yuri. I think Yuri's just more awkward. I do think Hill has the more power. Hill probably could be the hardest hitter in this division, guys. Right there with Jan, I would put it, right? So it is a tough call from a side standpoint here. Very tough. So when it's tough, I don't bet it, right? But if I'm going to give a player, it's going to have to be Glover and the plus money. But there's going to be that factor of can he survive the first round, second round. I think if it gets a little deeper in the fight, second, third round, it means that Glover's having a little success getting the fight down to the ground and looking for a submission. Right? You got to look at some of Hill's wins too. Like I mentioned, only 12 MMA fights, 11-1, 3 back-to-back finishes. So if you like Hill, you probably want to look at the finish. Right? Get that plus money. Because I think if he wins this fight, the only way he wins this fight is most likely by a finish, TKO, TKO, no submission. So you can look at the TKO, KO prop and get it at a nice plus money price if you like Hill. Instead of laying this minus 125, minus 135, whatever you're getting it at. Because if he wins this fight, it's probably by a finish due to his heavy hands, right? His speed factor is playing it. And he wasn't able to get exposed on the ground. That's how Hill wins this fight. And definitely has a good chance to do it. If you look at some of his wins, right? The Jimmy Crute win, the Johnny Walker win. Johnny Walker up and down. You don't know where you get from. And then Thiago Santos at the end of his career. He's not in the UFC anymore. So I just don't see why this... I'll tell you, there's two ways if I look at it. One, I don't see it warranted for the guys he beat. And only for 12 MMA fights. For it to be at minus 135, 125 in the market, guys. So that's why, from a betting standpoint, line value, I would have to bet Glover. Fighting at home, grappling advantage, shows that he can stay in there with the best of the best. Yuri, he could have won in that Yuri fight. He should have won that Yuri fight. He got caught late, right? He was able to use his wrestling and grappling. So if he could do that against Hill and avoid the big shot early, he could win this fight, right? So there's value there. If you, especially get a plus 115, plus 105, it's not great, but if you can get a plus 115, plus 110, I definitely would put a smaller unit on Glover. Is it going to make my client card? No. But for video purposes, I would look Glover's way. Love the fight not to go the distance. If you can get a decent price, maybe put in a parlay. That's going to be my favorite play on this card. Definitely excited to see if Hill could make that big step. Is he the next guy? We'll find out. Part 4 of this fight, and I always love seeing this fight, but we don't want to see any more, right? Let's see these guys fight someone else. Figueiredo minus 115 versus Moreno minus 105. Many have this turned up as Moreno favorite now, many books. These are early lines from the graphics, guys, remember. Moreno, I see some minus 115s, 120s, 125s out there. He is currently the favorite. Moreno has been getting money. And I'll go over a few reasons why. I'm not going to break down this fight too much. We've seen it 3 times. We don't really know. We kind of know what's going to happen. We know it's going to be super close, and that's why the line is super close. There's one disadvantage for Moreno, but a few on Figueiredo. We know Figueiredo struggles on weight. I'm hearing he's heavy as he's been. He's going to have a big cut. Watch the weigh-ins. I don't think he's going to miss weight, but it could be a tough weight cut for him. So watch that with Figueiredo. And he hasn't fought for a year. How much has he been training? We know he's been injured a bit. It's the longest he's been out for a while at least. Moreno's been fighting. Moreno's been looking good, looking really good against Kai Kara-France, stopping him. Right? The only issue is the Moreno change of camps. Remember, Kurz was training him. James Krause, was training him. And then that whole issue with the betting thing, right? So, he had to change camps. That could kind of slow you down and throw things off, but I think there's not too much to know about Figueiredo, right? You know what he's going to do. He has the power. Quick on the feet, goes for the big shots, fairly well-rounded. Right? I'm going to have to look at Moreno here. If the price is minus 125, no, I'll probably stay away. Moreno could make my card if I can get around even money. I just think he's the more active guy right now. Figueiredo, obviously I got to watch the weigh-ins. Watch the weigh-ins on Friday before you pull the trigger on this fight, in my opinion. But just the layoff. I think the layoff could kind of cause it. We've seen Figueiredo living more of the lavish lifestyle, the superstar lifestyle in Brazil. He's back at home. It may not benefit him. We're going to get a hungry Moreno in here. I do think Moreno is the better all-around fighter. But we know Figueiredo has improved fighting with Henry. And I don't really like betting against Henry-trained fighters. That's why this is probably not going to make my client card. But I can definitely see this fight, going the distance or late stoppage. And Moreno getting his hound raised. Some people say Moreno won that last fight. I think it was close. I think I would lean Figueiredo winning that fight. It was close. We could see another close one here, guys. Do you want to bet a fight that's going to be super close again? I don't. I pick my spots. There's usually 12 to 15 fights on a card. You don't have to bet every fight. This is a case where the fight's going to be super close. I think it can go either way. If you can get a good price on Moreno, I wouldn't shy away from it. But Figueiredo fighting at home, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? For some fighters, it's usually a good thing. In this case, not too sure if it's a good thing for Figueiredo. A lot of distractions this week, right? Around that, you got to think that as well, right? Glover, I think, can handle Ken Figueiredo. I'm going to lean Moreno here on the price. Don't love it, but for video purpose, I'll take Moreno. Like this fight to go late in the fight or the distance. Burns minus 450 versus Magny plus 350. Magny gets that big fight, right? Gets that big fight, and it's because he's willing to take any fight, willing to call anybody out, and continues to win fights, guys. Nice win over Daniel Rodriguez. Burns will take any fight as well. Company guy, right? Technically, you can say Burns doesn't need to take this fight. He should be fighting up a little higher, but he does have 2 losses in his last 3 fights. Obviously, 2 of those losses against Chimaev, where he could have won that fight. He looked incredible. And then the Kamaru Usman, where he actually hurt him. And, Burns been hurting guys in fights. He hurt Chimaev. He hurt Usman. He dropped Usman. Keep that in mind. And Burns obviously going to have a few advantages here. And I have a hard time seeing Magny win this fight, even though there's some value. And I think the line's off. I would have this fight minus 350 for Burns. Obviously, Burns fighting at home. Great thing for him, I think. Also has a huge grappling advantage here. Wrestling advantage. Magny's pretty good wrestling, but we've seen Chiesa dominate him there. I do think Burns can get this fight down to the ground, look for a submission. I think on the feet, Magny's chances to keep it at range, use his long reach. But besides that, I don't see too much advantage here, right? Burns could catch him with a big shot. Right, I think Burns could lean on the cage, use his strength on the cage there, kind of slow down this fight. And even if it does stay standing, Burns can hurt Magny. Magny can be hit. Not the best defensive fighter. So, I think Magny's only path is to win by decision. And it would be due to using his jab, his reach, and keeping his fight standing. It's a lot to ask. Plus 350, though. There's value there, but I just can't get there. I'm going to have to back Burns here. Now, if I look at outcomes, because we don't like this 450 price, it's hard to bet. But if we can look at an outcome here, it's tough to say. Magny's fairly durable. If we look at a decision prop, you can look Burns that way. If it's a finish, sure. Maybe a submission finish, because if this fight kind of gets down to the ground, which I kind of expect to get down to the ground at some point, you could possibly see Burns maybe looking for a submission there, even though we haven't seen a ton of submissions from him as of late. So I would lean more Burns by decision. It's going to be my favorite on the outcome side. Maybe they'll lean over 2.5 rounds and fight to go the decision. But yeah, I like Burns in this fight. Somehow you can get in a 2-fight parlay. That would be the look. Andrade, minus 500 versus Murphy, plus 380. You know, I can argue here and there that the line's a bit high, but not really. I can say maybe minus 400, 450. You know, another wide line here. I think it's for a good reason. Another fight I have a hard time seeing where Murphy is better. Where does Murphy win this fight? You know, just your toughness, you being strong, you know, coming into a fight good shape is not enough. You know, when you got the other fighters pretty much better all around in the skill aspect, right? Andrade fighting at home benefits her, in my opinion, more than most fighters. She plays off the adrenaline, I think. I think she's going to come in and fight her heart out and try to find a finish. That's what she does. That's why it's very tough to find an outcome here. Because Murphy's very durable. Very durable. Doesn't really get finished. Andrade looks for the finish. And it's very tough to call TKO, KO, or submission. Because Andrade could do both, right? So yeah, I definitely like Andrade here. Murphy, you know, she had her little nice run. But a lot of those fights were close. Could have went either way. The run's ending now when you're fighting top of the division girls. I don't think Murphy's the top of the division girl. I think Andrade finds a win here. Wouldn't be surprised if it's by a later finish. But, you know, Murphy's tough. And it's only 3 rounds. If it's 5 rounds, I would take Andrade by finish. 3 rounds, you know, Murphy come into his good shape. It's tough to call an outcome here. I'm just going to have to bet Andrade maybe fit into a fight parlay. 2-fight parlay that I do pretty much every week. 3-fight last week. I may have to get there again if I like multiple favorites. Andrade could make that card. Walker versus Craig, plus 160. Walker minus 180. First, to open up the main card. We have a fun one, right? Unless Craig makes it boring, which he does, right? He might lay on his back, ask for Walker to come down after Walker hurts him on the feet, because Walker's the much more powerful striker, better striker, and is flashy on the feet. It's just his IQ at times, right? Walker has to stay off the ground. Yes, Walker could take Craig down, but Craig can't take Walker down, in my opinion. So stay away from Craig's ground game. It's one of the best in the UFC. He only wins by submission, guys. He doesn't knock you out. He can't win by decision. So his only way is to submit you. So be smart and just keep it on the feet and outstrike him and probably find a finish throughout the fight. Walker can hurt guys on the feet. Craig has 0 striking. It's very clear cut how Walker wins this fight. Keep it standing. Craig's not going to wrestle you to the ground. It's not going to happen. The only way Craig wins this fight is Walker brings the fight down to the ground and Craig finds him in an armbar. Or Craig finds him in some sort of submission off his back. Don't do it, Walker. Be smart. Go on a run here. You're fighting at home. Be smart. I have to look at Walker here. I don't love the price of minus 190 due to Craig being dangerous throughout the fight at any point. But I'll have to look at Walker to bet this fight, probably by a finish. But if Craig makes it boring and just lays on his back, right, says come down, it's going to prolong this fight, which could be all over this fight. This fight could be actually very exciting or very boring at the same time. Depends how Craig approaches it. I think Craig's just going to try to get the fight down to the ground so he can find a submission. He wants no business striking with Walker and his power. So I'm going to take Walker here. Don't love minus 190, but I like him to find a way. Just fight IQ is always the case with Walker. Pretty good card, guys. Not a bad card. All Brazilian fighters. I'll actually miss this card due to some obligation that I have for a good friend's birthday. So I won't be active on Twitter. I won't be providing updates until Sunday. Maybe I'll sneak a tweet in there at the end of this card, but don't expect me to be active this week. I'll catch prelims, but I'll be going out just around the main event time. that will do it, guys. That will do it. My NFL divisional round video will be out tomorrow, so look out for that. Like I always say, bet smart and know your limits. Take care.